Hello. Okay, this is going to be the start of the spoiler-filled reading it. Oh, it's actually right here. Reading it for the first time. So that's what this video will be. This is huge. So I'm borrowing this from Krista's dad, and this is the, I'm almost wondering if this is the original. Probably not. Maybe. Publishing. Let's see, it'll tell me if I can. Interesting. Oh, there was a hardcover edition that was published by Viking Penguin and Viking in Canada. This says 1986. And then so that's the original date, and this is the 1987 first signet printing. And that pages 1091 to 93 are an extension of the copyright page. What? How large is this? Oh, good Lord. Oh my good God. Okay, okay, so fun fact, 1091 to 1093 are copyrighted materials that exist in the book. So it's basically endnotes, which is fun. And then there is a note about where the book was written. And this is enormous. I may also see if my library has the audiobook, as somehow this $5.95 chunky paperback did not seem like it would be over 1,000 pages to me. Why did I not realize that? Why did I just like push that out of my mind? Actually, this was $4.95 in the US and $5.95 in Canada. So yes, so I will be reading this. Again, I may need to find the audiobook, but we'll see. My goal was to read it physically, but this is really big. Like so big. So big. I should have realized that. Because I also got Salem's Lot, which is big, and Salem's Lot looks small by comparison. But I have not read any of this yet. As an informational moment for you, I have watched the miniseries, the original one with Tim Curry, and I have seen the first of the newer movies, the one that was split in half. So, I don't know why this is, but in the original miniseries, I did not care once they became adults. Like, I just, like, didn't like them. Like, I don't know why. So I wasn't that motivated when I watched it the first time and it was the adults. And I just kind of was like, eh. I actually fell asleep one of the times I watched it because I'd seen it at least twice. And I like dozed off during the adult part. I woke up before the end. Like I dozed off in the middle at some point. And then for the new adaptations, I saw the first one in theaters with my brother. He and I went together. And then when the second one came out, I had moved. And we didn't live in the same state. And I was not going to make Krista go see it too. Because Krista absolutely detests clowns. So Krista is afraid of clowns. Primarily because as a child, she saw the original It miniseries and it scarred her for life. So I'm not going to make her watch or consume any of this content. It will be a solely me journey. I know HBO, oh now it's just Max. Max, I believe, has the first, or the two at least newer ones. I'm not sure if the miniseries is on there because I do want to watch the adaptations once I finish this book. And then there's gonna be a show, apparently, like a dairy, like set in Derry, like D-E-R-R-Y, the place in this, not dairy, like the thing you get from cows, or I suppose any milk giving animal. Anyway, there was a tangent, sorry. But that's coming out at some point, but I don't know when that series is happening. And I know there are a number of adaptations of King's work, but I just know that show is coming out before too long, but is set possibly before this. I'm not entirely sure. But yes, so I do want to watch all the adaptations again after I finish this, which means this video may be very long. I don't know. This is a very huge book. why did I not I knew it was big. I knew it was a big book. Why did I not think I might also need the audiobook? Why did the thing didn't even like come into my brain that I might need the audiobook, but we'll look into that. My library might have it. We'll see. The other reason we are here is because I have something to show you. So I thought I would kick off the video with like a fun side tangent. It is late in the day on a Thursday, and I was not going to film because my head is still kind of bothering me. So unrelated, my eye hurt kind of when I woke up. My vision was a little weird in just my right eye, and that evolved into a migraine before my work day was over. So I did actually leave work like a half hour early just to like lay down and take some medicine. And the Excedrin that I took started working pretty quickly. I also drank a cup of coffee. I have had migraines before, and my mom would always tell me to take the Excedrin with caffeine of some sort because it helped like kickstart the medicine. I don't know. It works. I don't know if that's an actual fact. But that's why I don't have makeup on, because my eye is bothering me. And so I like laid down for a little bit and like got to see Krista, and then she had court. And then very, very quickly we ran out to the mall. This is all very baffling. It looks sunny out, but it's not early. Like it is almost 8 o'clock now. We like super quickly ran to the mall because they got something in that was on my like top thing that I wanted this year for Halloween. And we like ran out wildly fast to go grab them. I even called ahead and had them hold it, thinking that we might not even be able to go today, but it just like worked out that Krista got like a really like 30-minute break from court where we like ran to the mall, and then she brought me home. Yes, so my head still kind of hurts. And I'm gonna probably have to go to bed pretty early and take Excedrin in the morning, I think, because I have to go in early to make up for leaving early. It's a whole thing. It's totally fine. It'll work out in the end, but like I wanted to film this even though my right eye is still kind of like, why are we doing this? So yes, so the thing I'm going to show you is very exciting, and yes, let's just start. So if you didn't know, Universal Monsters and Care Bear announced a collaboration, which to me seems so wild, but they released a set of mashup Care Bear plushes. There's also like Funkos and some other stuff, but I didn't want those other things. So our Hot Topic got them because Hot Topic was getting them. And I really only thought Hot Topic was getting 2 of them because I swear somewhere said that they were only getting the Frankenstein's monster and the Bride of Frankenstein one, but that's not true because... Alright, so first we're going to show you the one that I like desperately wanted. This is Cheer Bear as Bride of Frankenstein. I had a Cheer Bear as a child, though my Cheer Bear was a boy. We're not getting into that. I had never seen the show, and to me at the age of like 3, all bears were boys. Did not matter if that bear was bright pink. And so my Cheer Bear growing up was a boy. This one is the Bride of Frankenstein. So admittedly, probably a girl, maybe. I mean, truly, doesn't matter. They're plush beings. They can be whatever they want, or whatever your child wants, or whatever you want. So yes, so this is Cheer Bear as Bride of Frankenstein. Put you there. Then I'll show you the partner. This is Grumpy as Frankenstein's monster. Very cute, very green, very square head. I got this one because really, like, you kind of need the set, but also Krista frequently gets Grumpy when I get Cheer Bear because she likes Grumpy and we both like Grumpy, so it works out. But I also got this one, which works out perfectly for the 2 of us. So Krista had Tenderheart growing up, and this is Tenderheart as Dracula, and I love vampires, so this was like perfect. I was like, we have to get Tenderheart, like we have to do it, we have to get Tenderheart, because oh my gosh, it's a sweet horror. I wonder if they all say that. Their tags all say things. Oh my gosh, so this one says sweet horror, and then the bride says she's alive, and then his says it's alive. So yes, so I also want to get this one so that we had a Tenderheart because they never seem to release anything Tenderheart related, and I don't know why. So we got all of the ones that I wanted. They also did a Mummy and Gilman / the Creature from the Black Lagoon, but I'm not as invested in those characters, so I didn't get them. I just didn't. But I got those 3. Those are the 3 I wanted. So I'm gonna figure out where to display them at a certain point, but I'm gonna put them in my office for now until I figure that out. And then we also stopped at Bath & Body Works. So Bath & Body Works today released a Stranger Things collab collection. I don't know. And we went to go see it, and I got some footage. It's not even a lot of footage because the display was actually smaller than I expected, because they didn't restock the 4 candles that they had before. So they like dropped 4 candles. Our store seemingly only ever got 2 of them. They got like the vanilla ice cream one and the pizza one, but I don't think they ever got the waffles or Hopper's coffee, which is fine because they have a waffle candle and they have a coffee candle. I have a coffee candle already that is not Stranger Things themed, that I've had for a while, that I got on clearance. But I took footage of the display. I thought the display looked really cool just going into this clip, but they didn't have batteries or testers set up for these 2 very large candle pedestals they had. They were identical, like it was the same pedestal, but there was no way to test it. So like I couldn't turn it on, I couldn't show it off. I didn't try like pushing any of the hand sanitizer buttons. So like I didn't have anything light up because I didn't know if those were gonna work either. So I don't really turn anything on because I wasn't sure, once the pedestals I realized didn't turn on, that anything was set up for trials. The hand sanitizers do actually work. We tested them after. I will say the one that just says Stranger Things lights up, and the cassette tape that you will see, it plays music, but it just plays the like little intro bit, and it was kind of hard to hear. And I didn't wind up buying anything. I did not like any of the candle scents. It's Eddie's Leather Jacket, Demogorgon, and the Upside Down, and all of them smelled like, you know when they release a candle that's like boyfriend sweater or like flannel or something, they all smelled like they were supposed to smell like a dude candle, and all of them just had like gross tones to me, and it could just be me. I weirdly thought that Eddie's Leather Jacket smelled like rubbing alcohol as a finish. I don't know why, but that's what I smelled when I put it down. Like initially it didn't, and then it did, and I was like, oh no. And then the Demogorgon and the Upside Down smelled almost the same. We agreed one of them smelled better than the other, but at this point I can't remember because they were so similar. I think one might have had like some kind of citrus note or something to lighten it up, but I don't know. Enjoy this clip of the Stranger Things stuff that I took, just so you can see it. And then the next time you hear from me, it will be about it. But yes, I just wanted to show those off, start the video, continue to be baffled by the length of this, and hopefully tomorrow I actually can do things. Most people primarily work on a number of monitors for work, so when one of my eyes is acting up, like, and I'm a light sensitive migraine haver, that becomes a real problem. So I really need this to stop being a jerk. I need my eye to be completely fine, and I need lights to stop bothering it, because thankfully at least the migraine's gone. So fingers crossed I feel fine tomorrow. My work day is totally normal and I don't have to like blink a lot. I felt like a pirate. I kept telling everyone I felt like a pirate because I kept being like, I have to close my eye to work. So I just want it to not need me to do that tomorrow. So fingers crossed. I'm not doing anything else today. This was like a spur of the moment, we have to go. So I just thought I would film, even though I don't feel 100%. So hopefully, yes, hopefully I feel better tomorrow, and I will give you updates on it, because I will try my best to possibly read a little before work, or see if I can get the audiobook so I can listen to a little bit before work. I don't know, we'll figure it out. But yes, so I hope you enjoy this journey, and I'm sorry this intro clip was so long. I do this a lot. Yeah, so hope you're ready for clowns. Clowns, clowns, clowns. It's gonna be a clownapalooza over here. So I will talk to you later. probably going to hear dogs and car noises, but I have an update for you regarding this behemoth of a book, It. This is the only time I'm gonna hold it because the cover, this is old and not mine. Not like wildly old, but it's an older paperback, and so like the cover is coming off, and so I'm like really reticent to like hold it up. I have notes of the stuff I've read. So I got this like Beetlejuice stationery gift set thing at TJ Maxx, and I thought I would use it as a matching pen. Ta-da. I would use it for my It notes. So to start, I am going to pull this out again in a sec, so I'm just gonna put it over here. The thing that confounded me a tiny bit is, so I said this was going to be full of spoilers, so if you've never read this and you don't want to know things about the book, then I'm sorry, I don't know why you're watching. Or if you just like don't care and you're not going to read this, that's totally fine. So the book starts with Georgie, or George, Bill's little brother. You know the kid, it's the one in the rain slicker. He has the little boat and a newspaper, and then Pennywise the Clown destroys him. So it opens with that, and it's been a while since I watched the adaptation, so I don't remember entirely like what's going on with George. I do remember him being called Georgie though. So he wants this boat, and Bill has the flu, that I remembered, and this is set in 1958. I don't remember. I know the original one is set, I believe, in 1958, but I feel like the newer one, it's set in like the 70s or 80s, and then it's set in the present, but I don't remember. Again, I have not watched those in a long time. But in this, it's 1958, and then like Georgie goes out, there's been a huge flood, everything is horrible, and then while he's out with this boat, Pennywise like pops up. While this is going on, we also learned that Georgie is terrified of a monster that he like imagines lives in their cellar, which, he's a little kid, cellars are scary. I think our basement is scary sometimes, and it's kind of cellar-ish, so it's not a finished basement, and it gives me the same vibes as Georgie's cellar. And sometimes I don't want to go down there and turn on the light. Like, I don't want to go down there and find something creepy. So I totally get it. But he like starts to smell the smell he associates with the cellar monster when he meets Pennywise. And what is wild to me is when Pennywise is introduced in this, he presents an actual name and then says, "I'm Pennywise the Clown." And then when they describe Pennywise to you, they use like cartoon or media clowns as an example. And what's interesting is in the 1958 one, they provide two clowns to you, and then our author, King, aka whoever's writing this, in the fictional world of Derry, says in the present you would probably like compare him to Ronald McDonald, and then when we're in 1980, they do. I am not that far in. I am only on part 2, so I've read part 1, which is set in 2 different times. It is in 1958 and 1980. And I read the interlude, which is set in the 80s, and then we go back to 1958, I guess, in part 2. But we have been introduced to a number of things in part 1. Strangely to me, I did not know or remember anyone's name. So the only one I could remember was Bill, and then we start like meeting all these characters in 1988? 88? Yeah, 85. You think I'd remember this, but they threw a lot of dates at me in the interlude chapter. So let me just pull this up. Again, I'm not going to show you. It's just going to be easier. 84. Oh, that makes sense. So it was 84 and now it's 85. So 1957, 1985. I'm going to have a horrible time with that. I'm just letting you know. Because it's 8'5" and I'm going to want to say 5'8" instead of 5'7", but I think that'll be fine. We do move to 5'8", so that'll help. Sorry, that was all over the place. But we meet all the characters through the 6 phone calls. So there are 6 phone calls that happen, and all of the friends from 1957-58 get a phone call. So we are introduced to them as adults first, which don't remember from the adaptation. I thought they set everyone up as children first so we would know who they are when we got to the reveals, but they just present all these people with like vague flashbacks to their lives in Derry in like these frightened internal monologues almost, or like internal like scenes popping back into their lives. What we learn is a number of them have amnesia and they just like don't remember what happened in Derry. Bill has actually forgotten that he stuttered like, he hasn't stuttered in 21 years, and then he, like, gets the phone call, and when he's trying to talk, he does begin to stutter slowly. And when he's not stuttering, he can hear his stutter in his head. He also suddenly has a scar appear on his hand. That he's like, that wasn't there before, was it? And his girlfriend's like, well, it's really faint. Like, I think it was. But he's like, no, like, it just appeared. So he is saying that, like, so much was, like, hidden away from him that, like, the scar came back, his stutter is coming back, the events of 57, 58 are, like, coming back to him. And the same thing is happening for everyone else. I will not be able to remember everyone's name. I know there's Mike. I know there's a Bill. Stu? Was it Stu? I should have written these down. Eddie, Beverly, Stan. It's Stan. His name is Stan. Sorry. Stan, not Stu. Stan. That's 5. I'm missing someone. I knew this was gonna happen. This happens with King books to me all the time. I forget one name. I read all of this before work. It's the start of my lunch break, so I wanted to fill you in. Oh, it comes up in this one. Here we go. That'll have his name. No. Eddie. Ben. I forgot Ben. So we learn the basics of everyone as adults very quickly. So Bill is now a horror author who has movies being made about his projects. Mike is still living in Derry, and he works as a librarian and is writing a history of Derry. Bev lives elsewhere. Was it New York? The setting for where she was didn't really matter, but Bev has married a horrible man. And there's a horrible scene between the two of them that, like, was a lot. There's been a lot happening already. And I'm even, like, skipping because I'm going to go back. But, like, Bev's scene was very abusive. Then, oh gosh. Stan, does not take the call well, is all I'm going to say. And there's a bathtub scene. And I'm gonna have you assume, because I don't really want to say certain words, because I feel like you get in trouble for that. But he does the thing, much like Miss Argentina, who had a little accident. Got it? Okay. He doesn't handle the call well. Ben gets horrifyingly drunk at his favorite bar. And then, oh, poor Eddie. So Eddie's mom was definitely a hypochondriac, and now Eddie is a hypochondriac. And Eddie also had asthma as a child, and his asthma has flared very poorly now. And so he keeps using his, I would call it an inhaler. He calls it an aspirator. And he says that it tastes like licorice. And I'm like, I wish my inhaler tasted like licorice. But his asthma is, like, freaking out because he's so stressed. And, like, he had managed it. And now all this childhood trauma is, like, bringing his asthma back. Which I also am like, no, you just probably, like, handled it better. Also, you're taking a pharmacopoeia of drugs. So I'm sure something was keeping it fine. But I was just like, woof. So they're all headed to Derry. That is the key element you need to know. These original friends are going back to Derry, excluding Stan, who is no longer with us. Then prior to all of this, the reason that set off this call, and I'm sorry I'm not going in chronological order, but I needed to remember everyone's names because they're the key characters going forward. There was an event in Derry, which this section was so difficult to read. So Derry is very blatantly homophobic in a number of ways. But somehow there is a gay bar because this man opened a bar and then he didn't really pay attention when it, like, started making money and realized there was only men coming to the bar, because a lot of men go to bars. But it turns out it's like a very casual gay bar, like not overtly wild, not a big partying bar, just like men come and drink and they happen to be gay. What happens though is there's a couple and they are together, and events have happened where these, like, 3 guys, one of them really does not like them because of this hat. One of them wins at this carnival in town, and that, like, kicks this guy off to then want to destroy that guy. And so what happens is horrifically awful. The gentlemen are gay bashed. One of them is told to, like, run away, get away, so he's not really injured, but he does watch his partner be pushed over this, like, bridge. And then the men who did the attack are like, we didn't mean to kill him, we didn't kill him. And one of them, plus the man's boyfriend, are like, I saw a clown. And the police are like, nope, we are not discussing the clown. The clown's not coming up. That's not happening, because the cops actually do want these 3 guys to go to prison. And the one guy's like, if we let them bring in that clown, someone's gonna be like, oh, someone else killed him. And then they won't go to jail. And we want them to go to jail, which was positive. There was just a lot of very homophobic comments. And I know it's gonna come back up in 1958 because they had little flashes where it's like, you, cigarette in England, like blah blah blah, like all of this stuff. I'm like, oh, that's gonna be delightful. I also know that the N-word gets used later on. It just hasn't happened yet. But yeah, that's what that whole section was like, very uncomfortable to read. I at least appreciated that the police were like, no, we want them to go to jail. Like, we're not bringing up the clown, we're not talking about it. I want these guys to go to jail. So they do. One of them even goes to Shawshank. But it's still very homophobic. There's homophobic graffiti. Like, Derry is not a pleasant place. And the one guy is like obsessed with it. He's like, I'm writing so well, it's doing so well, everything is great. And his partner's like, yeah, but Derry is terrible. Like, we need to leave. Can we just leave? Like, Derry is not what you think it is. I know you like it here, but Derry isn't actually like this great gay mecca. Like, we gotta go. So yeah, that sucks, because his partner's like, we need to leave, and they don't leave. One of them does eventually, but there are too many names, and I'm really sorry. But I just felt bad. I though do want a shirt now that says I heart Derry, because that's like brought up continuously, with like a rainbow heart, and I need someone to make that and send it to me. Thank you. Because we will make Derry gay again. But I was just like, it was just rough to read, and I like had forgotten about it. If I've read any, like, I feel like I vaguely remember an event happening that kicks off the phone calls, or like kicks off people coming back to Derry, but I don't remember it being so homophobic. And maybe they changed it in the movies, possibly. I don't know. But we also, like, Pennywise the Clown actually does kill the poor man. Like, he is beat to crap, but then he is fully killed by Pennywise. So that sucks, because, I mean, yes, those men are terrible, and really they resulted in his death. They pushed him into the water where Pennywise got him. So I'm saying it's their fault, and they're horrible. But yeah, Pennywise did actually kill him. So that's a non-canonical way of looking at it. We also get a history of Derry from Mike, from the book that he is apparently working on. That's like a history of Derry. That's not officially the title. They mention a couple different titles for it. So we get that from Mike, which is fun. And all the interludes will be from Mike's book, which is a plus, because it'll give us history of Derry. Now, the wild thing is, when Pennywise was introduced, he has the hair. Like, he has the red hair or the orange hair. They call it 2 different colors. But he's not dressed like either adaptation of Pennywise that I have seen. He is actually described as wearing the version of a clown that they, like, based on the description, start calling him a number of things. Like, oh, he was probably like a homeless person. But like, I'm just gonna say this because this is the only way I can think to say it. You know, the stereotypical, like, rides the rails hobo clown that they used to present in like older images, older media, where he's like very scruffy. He has on like a silly oversized suit, the tie, like they're just oversized regular clothes. That's what this Pennywise is wearing. And so in my brain, I was like, I'm picturing this very specific character that I know exists in media. I cannot remember his name. And it's probably one of the ones that they mentioned in the 58 description of him, but I don't remember what it is. I cannot. But I feel like if you think about it hard enough, you'll think of it. He had like the little pack and he was in the blue suit. I swear to God, he is an actual media thing, and maybe I'll figure it out at some point. But like, that's the description we're getting, except Pennywise is fully white. He does not have the like beard painted on, or like he doesn't have scruff with white atop it. He is just white. And he has really scary tiger teeth, they say at one point. So yes, so that's as far as I am. Everyone is coming back to Derry. And then it's going back to 1958 to explain to us what happened, I suppose. I just was not expecting like back and forths. I just thought it would be like one timeline and then the other timeline. But again, I don't really remember the adaptations well enough. I know the more recent one, it sticks like very firmly in the time period when they're kids, and then it goes to the adult timeline. And I don't remember there being a kickoff of them being adults and then coming back, like being adults and then being like, oh, that time in Derry. So I know for a fact, I want to say for a fact that the newer one is very firmly split into adults, kids, and then the adult one has kid flashbacks in it. But I don't remember the series enough. The series may have started with like the adults getting together and then we rushed back to the past. It's been too long. I will experience them. I did talk to Krista. She will not be joining me for sure. And I already told her that she was not joining me for any of this. So when I need to, I will track down the adaptations. The miniseries, I believe I have to rent from somewhere. The newer movies I can watch for free on Max. So I may wind up watching them out of order. I don't really want to. I'd like to watch them in release order. So we'll see how that goes depending on if I can get a hold of them. But I'm going to continue reading this at some point. I just read all of that before work. So I just thought I would like give you my thoughts during my lunch. But I gotta go if I want to eat any food at all. So I'm going to go do that. Oh, also I have a cool fun coffee cup that I feel like fits with the book because I know there's a creepy house. But I got this at Big Lots for like $5 and it has little like spiders on it and it's a little creepy house. And I am wearing Jack Skellington pajamas. I almost wore my Beetlejuice ones, but I haven't worn these yet, so I thought why not. Okay, sip of coffee had. I am going to go. Probably won't read more of this until tonight, but I thought I would fill you in. Sorry it was slightly out of order, but I needed to remember all of their names and that seemed more pressing to me than telling you about the horribly horrific events that result in Mike calling. Even though that's not even it. Like, other stuff is happening that we don't know about, and like that's just like the horrible thing they present to us. It's like, oh yeah, Pennywise is back and people are horrible. Yes, so I will go. I'll talk to you more about it when I have thoughts. There could be interludes where I'm doing other things. I have no idea. But I will call them interludes now because of Mike. So if you get an interlude where I'm not talking about it, I hope you enjoy it. I don't know. We're just seeing where this vlog takes us. Hi, yes, sorry. I just realized that I counted to 6 when I should have counted to 7 because Mike made 6 phone calls. Richard. I forgot Rich, the radio DJ. So FYI, one of their friends went on to become a radio DJ and he's also headed to Derry. I literally forgot he existed. I feel slightly bad. But also, Bill, Ben, Bev. Why are we giving me 3 B names to remember? And Ben and Bev are very similar. So yes, it's Ben, Bev, Bill, Rich, Stan, Eddie, Mike. Stan will not be in this story, so we really only have 6 people, but there were 6 phone calls because there were 7 people. Anyway, I'm done. I gotta go. It popped into my brain and I was like, wait, that didn't work. All right, I'm gonna go now. Other interludes will be me trying to remember everyone's name, and probably failing miserably. And I wish I could just call them person 1, person 2, person 3, but that would be even more confusing. But I'll have updates for you at some point about something. This book, my life, the world, who knows. I'll talk to you later. Hello, I'm in the kitchen. I'm making steaks and green beans. I am trying to remember exactly where I am in the book so far. Oh, okay. So I got to the section called June 1958, not 85. And school has just gotten out, and the first section of that passage, I am going to periodically be looking at steaks, just FYI, is all focused on Ben. So Ben, of all the kids that I have mentioned and whose names I periodically keep forgetting, so Ben is the larger kid. So he is called Fat. This is a Stephen King book. You knew there were going to be characters that they call fat. Like, I already talked about this. I talked about how Eddie's wife is described as being as large as his mother and like this whole thing. And you know what? Whatever. I knew it was going to happen because it's a Stephen King book. And he does this thing where there's at least one character who is overweight. You want to know what? He makes Ben very skinny as an adult, which makes sense because he has this thing about it's whatever. But Ben is the larger kid. And Ben's whole setup in this is that school is over. He is going to hang out because his mom has a job and his mom is a single mom. So Krista has a Bane. Yes, it's Krista and Bane. So I told her she wasn't really going to be involved, but I'm not really talking about creepy Pennywise specific things. So Ben is headed home from school and you get your like report card, but they call it something else. They're grades? They call it something. And so Ben gets his and he realizes that this bully who got held back a year, oh, it's not even gonna focus on my face now because you're more important than I am. So this bully in his class hasn't gotten his grades back, and Ben didn't let him cheat on him while they were taking this like science final. And so he is like, I gotta go. But he like wanted to like walk around town. We learned a little bit about Ben in general. He does eat candy. There is mention of him eating a lot. Again, I was expecting this to happen because I knew there was a bigger kid to begin with, and it's a Stephen King book, so said Stephen King character is going to be described by how much food he eats and how big he is and blah blah blah. So we do learn that he wears oversized sweatshirts all the time because he wore like a nice fitted shirt that his mom got him, and then he got made fun of. And so he's been wearing baggy sweatshirts no matter what the heat, baggy clothes, but he's wearing jeans, so there's a discussion of his body and his jeans. But he is a character who I actually kind of feel most related to so far. One, I have been basically the same size, excluding a period of time where I lost a lot of weight. I have basically been the same size since like 5th grade, 6th grade. So it's not a slim kid. And he like goes to the library and he loves like reading books and hanging out like at the library during the summer and like just kind of like being a general like good kid. He though is really good at erector sets and stuff like that, and I didn't do any building things. I'm gonna turn this down pretty far. There's a marinade on these and I don't want it to burn. So like he just like goes to the library and hangs out for a while. Now the downside is he is being chased by bullies. And he thinks he gets away from him. Oh, Krista's in there. One of the dogs just whimpered. I'll go check in a sec. But he winds up being chased by the bullies when he leaves the library. They like make this whole plan. And the lead bully threatens to carve his name into Ben's skin. And the other two bullies are like, yeah. But then when it actually starts happening, his two like henchmen are like, I didn't really think you were gonna do that, man. So Ben winds up with an H carved on his stomach, which was already shown when he's an adult. It has healed, but he like got that carved into him. He gets completely beat up because he like falls down this like bridge, like from this bridge thing. And so like it's all very terrifying, and I'm like, in 1958 were bullies really just like cutting people and like stabbing them and like doing wild things? We also get a recounting of Ben seeing Pennywise, but Pennywise didn't look like Pennywise. He looked like a mummy, kind of. So we're getting the idea that Pennywise does not always appear as a clown, and when he does, he may change into something else. Hello. So we get Ben's experience with Pennywise, and then we get Ben meeting Bill and Eddie. So Bill is basically our hero character, though Ben has gotten the most page time so far. And we like meet them. They have also encountered these same bullies who destroyed their dam. And then Eddie has an asthma attack after getting punched in the nose. So please note that I already told you that I thought it was weird that Eddie says his inhaler tastes like licorice when inhalers do not taste like licorice nowadays, and I wouldn't think they taste like that back then either. Hi, you're very invested in this story. Of course you are, your banks. Yes. So he like is having an asthma attack. Bill has to rush and get him a refill because his aspirator is empty. And then this is when we meet Bill's bicycle, Silver, which is way too big for him, and it's a whole thing. He basically almost dies on the bike a few times. He goes to get this. Those three become friends because Bill was already friends with Eddie, but not with Ben. They just didn't really interact. They were in different 5th grade classrooms. But he goes to get the medicine for Eddie, and the pharmacist gives it to him and is like, ah, it's fine. His mom has a tab, which I already told you, mom's a hypochondriac. Chondriac? I feel like I'm saying that wrong. But turns out it's not a real aspirator, y'all. He may have some low-level asthma, but it's just camphor. It's basically like, nowadays they sell like a Vicks inhaler that just has like Vicks in it, and it's supposed to help with like chest congestion, difficulty breathing if you are slightly sick but don't have asthma. And that's what he's getting. It is not real. He does not have asthma. Or if he does, it's so low level that he doesn't need a real inhaler. Which means probably now, in the present, he doesn't have asthma either. He just thinks he does. So is he using real inhalers now? Is he still using a camphor inhaler? Like, he wouldn't know. Did he give himself asthma through all this? I don't know. But I was just like, Eddie, you don't have asthma. I now don't relate to it all. You don't have real asthma. Huh?
He does.
He doesn't.
No?
No, in the book, the pharmacist is giving his mom a camphor inhaler for him. It's not real.
Oh, even as an adult, he has an inhaler.
Yeah, no, his mom makes him think he has asthma because she's a hypochondriac. And so now he thinks he has all these things wrong with him and he doesn't. So, I mean, maybe he gave himself asthma at a certain point. You can get asthma as you get older. Also, if his lungs became reliant on the camphor, maybe they would become weaker. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
I was gonna take them out, but we still have the weight truck there.
Oh, gosh.
And now Smokey's out.
No! We're being bombarded by dogs. We were gonna take the pups out so that we could just like enjoy dinner and not worry about it, but that's not gonna work. What else do I have to tell you? Brain. So yeah, Eddie doesn't really have asthma. He probably does now, but didn't as a child. He just thought he did. Bill is kind of the hero according to Eddie, but Bill has also seen creepy things. He has seen his dead brother come back in a photograph, which kind of happens in one of the adaptations if I remember. And then we've also spent time with Mike, who will be our future dairy historian kind of. His dad has always loved the history of dairy, and so he has like instilled that in his son. And Mike is like learning things, but Mike also comes across a thing that might be Pennywise, because there's a giant bird monster at the place where all the kids died during the Easter egg hunt. We have also gotten a story about a kid who was killed by definitely Pennywise, who turned into the creature from the Black Lagoon, which is wild. But that also resulted in learning that another kid was killed by his stepfather, and that was that kid's brother. It's like a whole thing, but they get into like how they tried to pin all the murders on the stepdad, and then turned out no. But that this was all like Pennywise got one brother but not the other. So we're getting little insights into other things, but it's a lot of like building the scene, a lot like they did with Salem's Lot. Like with Mike's stuff so far has been a lot of like telling you about dairy and what dairy is like and what dairy has done and how dairy has been. Bill's is really just explaining like his family fallout since Georgie, and how he is going to be the leader going forward, but that's all we've really seen him doing. We also know his starter got worse. And then Ben's has really been about being a kid in dairy, and so I think Ben is my favorite so far, but that's as far as I've gotten. I'm gonna go help with outs. I am enjoying it, but it's very slow. It does remind me a lot of the writing in Salem's Lot, because it's a lot of like setup, a lot of explaining things as they go. So it just is giving me that like this is gonna take a while because it's like Salem's Lot. So I'll update you more. I didn't talk to you at all on Saturday because I didn't really read much on Saturday. I read a little, but we had a lot going on, so I just didn't. So this is Sunday, and I don't know how much reading I'll get done before. Like I want to post this on Thursday. But I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. I don't know. I have to figure this out. This might go out like early next week instead of like trying to do it in a week, because I think it's gonna take me a long time. But I gotta go. So I'll update you when I have more thoughts. But I'm really loving how Pennywise has been so many different things. Because I feel like they kind of show that in the adaptations, but not as intensely as in the book. So yes, but I gotta go. I will talk to you later with more Pennywise things. Maybe I'll get some B-roll at some point. Who knows? Talk to you later. Hello, this is going to be very brief because my battery is definitely dying and I need to charge it. So I have made it to part 3, which is grown-ups. So I've officially finished June 1958 and the interlude that follows after that. And I, for one, am going to say I am an idiot, because I like kept reading this and kept reading this. I was like, where is Mike? Because like Mike's in the interludes, but Mike hasn't appeared as a child yet. And I'm like, why aren't we seeing Mike? Why is this not happening? Where is Mike? I have seen both adaptations and had completely forgotten that Mike is not white. I do not know why I forgot Mike was black. I feel like the book didn't really explain to me why no one was interacting with him. Still doesn't make sense, because you would think at some point in June 1958 they'd at least be like, oh, and Mike. But he is the only not white character of the kids. And I feel like an idiot. And like, it comes up in the interlude for this section, because his father is telling us about the fire at the Black Spot, which is obviously a bar for non-white people. It is a bar for people of color. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so dumb. So he's like talking about that, and that's the section where like the N-word is consistent non-stop. I'm not quite sure why this needed. The book is already really long, and while I appreciate you want to like discuss racism in Maine, I don't know why this needs to be here. Like, it didn't have anything to do with Pennywise. It was just to explain that like horrible people exist in Derry, And I'm like, but this doesn't need to be here. Like, this interlude is not advancing the story to me, unless this somehow ties in, but I don't think it does. And I was like, is this just so I, like, know for certain that Mike is not a white kid? Is that what this is? Like, I was like, what is the point of this? And, like, I don't get it. I don't know. I don't get why that was in there when, unless, like, it ties into how Mike sees Pennywise. I don't know. But, like, I just felt dumb. Because it has been a long time since I watched either adaptation, and I don't actually remember who is cast as who in those. Like, I don't remember in any way. And I was just like, oh no. Oh, I'm dumb. So there you go. I'm an idiot. And Mike is black and lives in Derry, Maine. And has a farm. Like, his family has a farm. Just, I am dumb. Just please note I'm dumb. I feel like I assumed just because it's Stephen King and I didn't remember casting in the adaptations at all. Like, I remember bits and pieces of scenes, but, like, I straight up cannot tell you what any of those kids looked like. And so I was just like, oh. And I feel like this might be because he doesn't have, like, Salem's Lot, to my knowledge, is all white people, right? Like, maybe he, like, maybe he was trying. He was like, okay, I really want to, like, not have only white people in this, which is a solid effort, but, like, that chapter did not need to exist. Like, that whole interlude didn't need to be in there, to me. Like, it didn't advance the story. And, like, this is totally fine, but, like, we haven't discussed Mike in relationship to anyone else, so I'm just like, when did Mike meet them? Why are we talking about them as grown-ups before I even know how Mike met everyone else? Because, literally, they have only now all just met excluding Mike. And I'm like, what? Whatever. So I have, like, enjoyed parts of this. They're doing a lot of, like, building up them as kids, what they were doing, how they met. And Ben is still my favorite character. He has a huge crush on Bev, but he is a very good builder of dams. And he actually got a compliment from an adult, even though, as it turns out, the Barrens is literally sewage and gray water. These children are playing in sewage, and they're still going down there. I'm like, a man has told you it's gray water, which is, like, it's like unclean water, like stuff you do with a wash. He even explains it, and I weirdly know this because Kristen and I were watching some RV stuff, and they're always like, gray water tank, and I'm like, yeah, that's a tank where you put, like, that's where your, like, dishwash water goes and stuff like that. But yeah, so they built a dam that backed up the gray water lines and probably the sewers. And I was like, ew, God, ew, no. This is why you should never play in standing water. You should never go out in standing water. You should never touch standing water because you don't know what it freaking is. And I was just like, oh, ew. So they've been playing in sewage. So it was gross to learn. And the fact that they're still going down there, I'm like, doesn't it smell? Like, I'm so confused. But it's gross. It's just gross. Like, I understand the Pennywise is, like, in the drains. Like, he's in the sewer and all of that. And, like, the children appear because, like, the Bev drain scene happens. And, like, they're obviously down there in the water. And I'm like, but still, like, ew. So, yes. So, we got the Bev scene. We learned what Stan saw of Pennywise. Stan saw, like, zombie children and heard calliope music, which is very creepy. But Richie, so I don't think I mentioned this, but Eddie did see the leper under the Neibolt house. And then Richie and Bill, yep, my battery's dying, go to, like, see this, and then they're confronted with a wolf man, but, like, they kind of stop the wolf man with sneezing powder, and then Stan is able to stop Pennywise with saying bird names over and over. So it's like, if you believe in something enough or you love something enough, it helps you in some capacity. I don't know. It's very interesting. I do not know that I'm going to be able to talk more because my battery is dying. I'm going to throw out that I hate that we have talked about Bev's budding body and that everyone is in love with Bev. She seems lovely, but, like, I don't want to hear about a child, like, discussing and thinking about her own breast growth. Also, I don't understand how everyone's obsessed with her. Is it because she's the only girl that's not super rich or something? I don't know. It's just odd to me. I knew it was going to happen, but still seems odd. I gotta go because my battery's dying. But I'll fill you in when I get to the grown-ups part, which I may or may not like because I hate the grown-ups in the original miniseries so much. I will talk to you later when I have a charged battery. Bye. Hello. Okay, my battery is actually charged. We are back in my office. Try and back up a little. There we go. I have an update because I have finished Grown Ups, which means I'm now on part 4. So that was part 3. And I read the interlude after that section. So I don't 100% remember what I said in the last clip because I had to talk really fast. And I also technically filmed that clip twice because I said something completely wrong. Like, I messed up a character name so much. I don't know why Bruni is barking. It is late. He's probably barking at a cat. Or possibly our neighbor. Anyway, we're gonna update because it's late. I'm tired. I've had a little bit of red wine. I had it with dinner. We had chicken and green beans, and we watched some of Dexter New Blood. New Blood? The sequel series, it's not very good. They're like trying to do too many things, and it's, I don't know. I'm not gonna get into my thoughts on Dexter, but I will say, like, the writing in Dexter, the actual show, I actually stopped watching it at a certain point because I like the books more. Yes, I am one of those people who's going to say that. But I like the books way more and I stopped watching the show. But Krista found out Sarah Michelle Gellar is in the prequel series as, I think, Dexter's stepmom or adoptive mother. So yeah, it'd be adoptive mother. So we're watching all of it to like know all the stuff that's already happened in case it gets referenced in some capacity, even though it's a prequel because they do that sometimes. But yeah. Dexter just like kind of gets dumber, I feel like, as it progresses. Anyway, back to it, about the killer clown, question mark. So I got to the grown-up section, and so all of they officially said it at a certain point. So all of the Losers Club has arrived back in Derry, and they're all slowly like remembering what happened, but somehow they all have not remembered what happened in July of 1958 or August, which Mike does. So the issue is Mike remembers everything because Mike never left Derry, and this pisses me off a little. Everyone else is rich, and Mike's like, I make $11,000 a year after taxes, but it's fine. I was supposed to stay here. And they're like, oh, that sucks. And like, Bill's even like, oh, I made like a lot of money doing what I do. Like, even Stan, rest in peace, they all made a ton of money. They're all still making a ton of money. Even Bev, who's with a horrible man, even though she lies and says her husband is great, he's horrible. Like, he didn't want her to leave. He was atrocious. They had to get into a knockdown drag out just for her to get out the door. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Why wouldn't you just tell them your husband's a shithole? Look, that's not a word. An asshole? I was gonna say a shit and an asshole turned into a shithole. He could also be a shithole, I guess. Like, she lied to everyone. Everyone else ultimately seems like they're doing decently okay. Like, they're all making a lot of money. And none of them can have children, which does explain why there's a whole section in Stan's chapter earlier in the book where the wife, and like, it's the wife really thinking about it, like they can't have kids and they can't figure out why, and it has something to do with what they did to stop Pennywise. So none of them can have children, but they're all very wealthy, except Mike, sadly. Does this mean Mike can have kids? He's never tried to have kids, from what I can tell, but I'm like wondering if Mike could have kids because he was the Watcher, which again, sucks for him. I don't know why the only black character didn't get to leave Derry. Why did Bill get stuck in Derry? Wouldn't you think Bill, who's supposed to be our leader, would be stuck in Derry, like writing books to like get by and being a librarian, and that he'd be the one stuck there? That's what I would think personally, but I guess I'm not. I don't know. That's just how I would have set it up, but I'm not Stephen King. And I just like, it's annoying to me that it's Mike. I'm like, really? 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 So once they're in Derry, Mike has a whole plan. He's like, I can't really tell you guys anything, but, and I'm saying guys in a collective sense because they don't really, what's awkward is like, Ben had a huge crush on Bev, and I feel like all the guys kind of like sort of did, even though we know nothing about Mike and his personal thoughts on anyone so far, because he's just the historian who knows things. But like everyone seemed to have a crush on Bev, and then like Bev had a huge crush on Bill because duh. He's the hero. So like she's super into Bill, even though she realizes in what I read that Ben is the one who wrote her the poem that she kept in her underwear drawer. And I'm like, you didn't like Ben at all. I get that he was big, but he like really liked you, like a lot, like freaking liked you. He would have been a great guy for you to date. Like, okay, because you and Bill obviously didn't date. Like, there's no discussion of it. And I'm like, but like, Ben was nice. Is still nice. Like, whatever. So what we know is they like can't remember anything past June of 1958 now, but they are uncovering memories. But now that they're in Derry, Mike has this plan. They like meet for Chinese, and Derry has turned into kind of like a bustling metropolis almost. But they go for Chinese food, and then the grossest thing ever is they have fortune cookies, and like creepy shit comes out of the fortune cookies. And I'm like, why? I will never eat a fortune cookie again. It was so gross. There's like flies and eyeballs and teeth and blood, and it was just gross. But like, they all hang out, get very drunk. And then Mike's like, hey, you should all wander the town. That's the idea. We'll all separate, we'll all wander the town, and see what happens. And then, because Pennywise knows they're here, because Mike has access to crime scene photos because he pays a guy in the sheriff's department, or the police department, whatever. And he's like, one of them said, come home, come home, come home. And they also found like George's childhood photo that Bill like saw talking to him in a previous section. And also, I forgot to mention this, but like Bill put his hand in a photo, which was really cool. That was very creepy. I did like that a lot. But that happened, and that was a while ago when he was a kid. But he's like, oh, this is the photo that talked to me. Sorry, it is really hot in my office, and I'm talking really fast because I need to go to bed. But my asthma may act up. My actual asthma. Eddie may have asthma now, but I would please like it noted for the record, he didn't have asthma as a child. He just thought he had asthma as a child, and he's a hypochondriac. So who knows if he actually has asthma, or it's just like in his brain that he has asthma. I have legitimate asthma with multiple inhalers and medicine. So I may cough a lot because I, unlike Eddie, have really bad asthma. That sounds so mean, but it pisses me off a little that he may not even still have asthma. He may just have an aspirator. And I'm like, dude, I don't think you're sick. I think you just think you're sick, and you didn't go to a psychiatrist because you think you're medically sick. But I think it's all in your head. I think it's all in your head. So anyway, it's because of his mom. His mom was a hypochondriac. I feel like I say that wrong every time. But his mom is the reason he thinks he's sick all the time. And he still thinks that, even though he's an adult. And I get it. I totally get it. But also like, dude, I don't think you have asthma, so please let it go. Like, I'm just like, man, I don't think it's that bad. But all of them interact with Pennywise at this point. So Pennywise knows they're in town. Pennywise has called for them. Pennywise is like, I'm here. I'm ready. Let's get these kids that I fucking hate. So he goes after Ben first, because of course, Ben, my favorite. Ben, the delightful child, who is now an adult. I love Ben. He is just wonderful, and I wish he were the hero character. But Ben gets attacked at the library where Pennywise basically turns into like a vampire with razor blades in its mouth and is like, what do you think that Stan saw before he died? Ah! And so I'm like, ugh. But like, he has a library card now, and I'm hoping that he uses the library card as like his like cross, because I think it has to be something that's like critical to you as a child, and his library card was. So he gets attacked and like super freaks out. And that totally makes sense because the library was his safe place as a kid, and Pennywise has infiltrated his safe place. Then Eddie remembers that kids used to play baseball, which he like didn't really, but he sometimes returned to fly balls when his asthma was okay. Again, his mother made him think he has asthma. He doesn't have freaking asthma. Again, he could now, but it's just pissing me off that he didn't have asthma as a kid and he thought he did. Because I didn't have asthma as a kid, and I have it as an adult now, and it sucks. But he starts imagining people, and it turns out that of the 3 bullies, 2 of them are dead. And like, one of them, Belch in particular, like shows back up. So these like creepy things are chasing him, and of course one of them turns back into the leper because he still has like that fear of germs. So that happens. Bev, though, goes back to her old apartment because she's just like walking around because that's what they're supposed to do. She gets there, and it's a little old lady, which I remember from the trailer for it too. There's like a little old lady who's talking to Bev and seems totally normal, and then is like, I'm gonna eat you, which is kind of what happens, except she's like, oh, that trunk belonged to my father, Robert Gray, Bob Gray, he was a clown, and then she turns into a witch. The witch from Hansel and Gretel in particular. And then it's all in Bev's former apartment, and Pennywise has gotten to her, but no one has died yet. And so Bev is attacked by that version of Pennywise. Richie, I'm so sorry, but I hate Richie so much, and I hate that Richie and then Pennywise, in mimicking Richie, does this very, very irritating voice that I absolutely hate. I hate all the voices, but one of them in particular is exceptionally racist, and I hate it. I hate it so much, and I don't want it in there. I really don't. I don't want it to exist, and it still shows up, and I'm like, are you kidding me? No, this is stupid. I don't like it. I don't like it. If I had the audiobook, I would extra hate it. But like that shows up. And then he gets attacked by a Paul Bunyan statue that turns into a clown statue. And weirdly enough, they're like, the Paul Bunyan statue is made of plastic. It was made in Ohio. I'm like, did we make Paul Bunyan statues in Ohio? Did I miss that in my life in Ohio? As a child, did I miss out on Paul Bunyan statues? Anyway, it turns into a clown. It's a whole thing. But I hate Richie. I don't like him. I don't care about him. I'm ambivalent to Richie in this story. I would be completely fine if Richie just wasn't in it. Sorry. If you like Richie, I'm sorry. I hate Richie. I hate Richie so much. And then Bill sees Silver in a shop window. So Bill doesn't actually see Pennywise. He like tries to find Pennywise in the sewers and Pennywise is like, nah. Because of course he's the hero. So I guess Pennywise is avoiding him. I don't know. He finds Silver and then he winds up meeting up with Mike, who then fixes Silver with him, or he fixes Silver because Mike randomly bought a patch kit and he's like, I don't know why I bought a bicycle patch kit, but I did. And so they like fix up Silver. And then I'm trying to think. That's probably everyone, right? Because Mike wouldn't be visited by Pennywise. Yeah, no, that's everyone. And then we got 3 uninvited guests. Bev's husband is trash. He attacks her best friend, figures out where she went, and is after her. And also, I hope that he is eaten by Pennywise. I feel bad because Bill's wife has come, Audra. She's coming to Derry, and I'm like, please don't. Because you'll probably get eaten too, so he can get with Bev. And I don't want that to happen to you, poor ma'am. Because she seems fine. And then Henry? I think it's Henry. I'm gonna forget that poor kid's name. The bully. Yeah, it's Henry. The one who carved his first initial on Ben. He actually had all the murders pinned on him because like stuff was found in his house. And so he's at like a psychiatric institute, but he winds up breaking out because Pennywise needs him because he wants him to kill the kids. So I'm like, good lord. Pennywise actually helps him break out. There's like a whole thing where Pennywise is like talking to him and I'm like, oh my good lord. He uses his little friends to talk to him and be like, hi, come back, we need you. You can get them. You gotta kill those kids. And then also the N-word happens again and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Which means we're gonna get to a point where it's just gonna use a bajillion times again and I'm gonna get frustrated. It doesn't need to be in here. This is from the 80s. Like, it's not like this was written a bajillion years ago. And I understand it's set in the 50s, parts of it are set in the 50s, but still, I don't want it in there. And so he's coming. And then I read the other interlude and I liked the first interlude. And then like now the interlude seems superfluous because now this interlude is talking about the thing that apparently set off the events in 1958, I guess. Like each event triggers, there's a big event that triggers the start and then another big event that closes these chapters of Pennywise killing people in Derry. And it's like a shootout or something. I just kind of zoned out a little because I was like, I really don't care that much. I don't. And like they tie that into the black spot and like I feel bad the black spot fire happened, but also like none of it is being presented like it's being presented with too much detail when like the first one was like a lot of events rapid fire and that was fine, and now it's like one event drawn out and I don't need that. I need a condensed version of events because this book is already a behemoth. So yes, I'm on part 4 where I will apparently learn about this rock fight that involves Mike. So I will finally learn how Mike became part of the Losers Club, but that feels like a lot of time. I am on page 627 and Mike's not even their friend yet. And that means I have like 470 pages left roughly. And I'm like, really? In all that time, Mike couldn't be friends with them? Those are just my thoughts. But I'm gonna go because I would like to go to bed. I think we're gonna watch another episode of Dexter, but it is really hot in my office. I will talk to you more about this book when I have read more, hopefully tomorrow, but I just think it's annoying that Mike did not become their friend until July of 1958. Though apparently like none of them were friends until June of 1958. It just seems annoying that like Mike wasn't part of June in some capacity to me. Just because I feel like Mike is being continuously othered in the story in that he like worked on a farm and had like his own thing and then like had to stay in Derry and be the watchman while they all got to go be rich and live their lives and be away from Derry for 27 freaking years. I'm like, really? Do we have to? I feel like Bill should have been the one that was there. Like, his brother died. Wouldn't he be tied to Derry in some capacity? Like, I'm like, why isn't Mike? Just because your dad, like, was really invested in the history? Because that's what, like, his dad taught him the history of Derry. And I'm like, but also, like, shouldn't Bill want to hang around? Like, you think? Maybe not, I guess. I don't know. I understand why most of them left. And, like, Ben even says he had to leave because his mom lost his job and they went to Nebraska. And so I'm like, okay, but, like, why did it have to be Mike who stayed? Like, any of you could have been the person who stayed. It wouldn't have been Beverly. Bev, because she's the only girl in this group, would obviously have gone somewhere else. Like, that's just how that would have gone. But I'm like, why Mike? Why wouldn't it have been Bill? Like, I just don't understand why it wouldn't be Bill. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I get they wanted Bill to be, like, he wanted Bill to be the horror writer, but, like, Bill could have written horror stories from Derry and then, like, been the one following everything and been like, oh, now's the time. I don't know. I guess maybe because he decided Mike had to be a historian and Mike wouldn't have made money being a historian anyway, but I don't know. I will let you know my thoughts as I continue. Also, big news. Krista has agreed to watch the original miniseries that she saw as a child, so long as we watch during the day. We eat lots of comfort food, and she has plenty of time to watch other things before we go to bed, and we have to split it up, so we won't watch it like all in one go because it's really long, but she's actually gonna watch it, which is surprising. And I told her she didn't have to because I was like, I know you don't want to watch it. You really don't. Like, I'm gonna rent it on Amazon, but you don't have to watch it. But I'm gonna watch the remake versions by myself, which might mean I watch the remake versions before that. It just depends how things work out. But I am gonna watch the 2 remake movies and we'll watch that together, I guess. But that, I haven't decided if those will be in a different video or this video. I don't know if it'll all just be it all together. It probably will, just cause. But if not, I'll separate it into it the book and it the features with some comparison. But I'm gonna go. It is freaking hot in here and I would like to go to bed. So I will talk to you about more of this very large book by Stephen King later. Hello. Okay, I desperately want it to be fall. It is hot again today, but I'm wearing my very cute Sam pajamas with their matching shorts that you cannot see, really. There they are, kind of. It's really just like a repeated pattern of these guys, but I am farther in. I tried to pick it up and I was afraid I was going to drop it. I have officially finished part 4, and normally I would do the interlude with this, but part 4 was hefty. I finished it roughly before work, and I actually had to take notes because there's like a lot happening in this section. So let me pull this up. I'm using my very cute handbook for the recently deceased. Okay, so in part 4, a lot of things happen. So we do get more of Mike because this is the point where Mike has to become their friend. So it opens, I believe this opens with this. Yeah, they all wind up there. So everyone's at the library because they're supposed to meet at the library at 7 in the present for this book, which is 85. And they're all hanging out, and I'm gonna point out that Eddie is drinking a very gross drink, and I like gin, but he's like, oh, I'm drinking gin and prune juice, it's healthy for you. And I'm like, gin and prune, what? So gross. But they're all hanging out, and yeah, wow, my brain. So they're all together, and they are, I'm gonna open this back up. Yes, I knew this was gonna happen. I almost said the wrong name. Mike is going to get his own beer because it's in the cooler in his office, which like, or the fridge in his office, which like, that's very casual that he can just have beer in his work office. So he goes to get beer. When he opens it, Stan's head is there, which is very creepy. Stan is Pennywise, of course. Stan's head is not actually there, but then there are balloons and there's like creepy stuff and there's feathers in Stan's mouth and there's a lot of puns about heads. But Pennywise is like getting ready to take them down. Pennywise does not want them there. We already know Pennywise has a heavy hitter coming because he has convinced Henry to come back. So Henry the bully. This section it does what I knew it was going to do. We continuously have Richie throughout using the stupid voice that I'm not even going to say how they define it because I'm also very sure that you're not, like, that's not a word we use anymore and we shouldn't use anymore. It's not the N word. It's a different word. I mean, in theory, I think you can, but I don't want to because I don't like it as a word. He's basically doing this very stupid voice that I hate consistently. The N word is used a lot because we learn how Mike became friends with everyone, and that is totally because Henry and his buddies plus an extra guy that we have added in this section, are trying to kill him. Kill him, in quotes, because they're like trying to beat him up, but Henry is slowly losing his mind. Like, not officially, but I'm just like, you just really don't care. So he's already killed Mike's dog, which we knew well in advance, and then that's horrible and evil, and he's obviously unwell in a criminal behavior kind of way. He decides that he wants to like take him out, like chase him. There's a whole thing happening, and then there's the rock fight, which happens, and the bullies all get injured, except possibly, well, he does get injured, but we've like added this new guy named Patrick who will go missing in this section, and he is, whoo buddy. I don't feel bad that he is no longer living in Derry, if you catch my drift here. So the big rock fight happens, they all become friends, and then becoming part of the Losers Club, they all tell him about having met Pennywise, and then we learn that Mike has actually met him twice. So Mike saw him as the giant bird at the Ironworks, and then he also saw him as a clown at the parade for like Memorial Day, Labor Day. He's in a band. He does not go to school with them because he goes to a Baptist school. That was further explained, but I'm also like, really? Whatever. They're all friends now. They now have a clubhouse that's built underground that Ben obviously built because he's the architect. He had the plan. They made it. It's secret and hidden. They use that to perform a weird ritual that... weird in the sense that I'm very sure children should not attempt to do things they read in a book that have to do with native culture and just assume they're doing it correctly, because like, Lord knows what was in that smoke. They like do this smoke ritual, so they'll have a vision, and so Mike and Richie wind up having the vision, and in the vision they see it like crash land. I'm using quotes because they're like, it wasn't a saucer, but it wasn't really an asteroid, and he just kind of like appeared, like he ripped through the thing. So I had remembered this, but the idea is that it is supposed to be some kind of otherworldly entity, like cosmic-y horror, I suppose. So I, in my notes, wrote like Lovecraftian question mark, because it's kind of Lovecraftian, because like sometimes they're from other places. Like there's no real explanation of like whether he's officially from another planet. In a section he does say like, we're from another planet and we're here to get your women, while he's pretending to be like another character, Pennywise / it. Anyway, so Pennywise is something. He is an otherworldly entity that can kind of bend your perception of him. It's not really a man, exactly. Though I think we are supposed to associate him with being a man. But it can kind of take on whatever glamour. They do talk about the word glamour. It wants to get you. So throughout this, they like do the ceremony, they see that, they decide they're going to make silver slugs, which has been discussed before, but Beverly has to do it because she's the best shot. Now, during all of this, we also learn that Patrick, he gets killed by Pennywise, just like out of the blue, and then like a message is written to the kids with his blood on the inside of a broken refrigerator, and I just feel like he was in it, so there would be someone that could be killed off for the story, and we wouldn't really give a flying fuck because he's a horrible human being, which is annoying because he's a horrible human being who also like randomly offers to do sexual things to Henry, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Because then it started off this whole like, well, I'll tell everyone you're he says homosexual, but he shortens it, you know what I mean. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? He doesn't think he's a real like, so Patrick is possibly a sociopath, possibly a psychopath. Both those words are used, so I'm just using them in this sense. And he thinks he's the only real person, and he doesn't even like really care if he feels pain because Henry like hits him in the face. But like, I was like, why did we have to have this like very odd male moment at the dump and then like reveal to us how evil Patrick is? I was like, are you kidding me? Like, he's a horrible person. Why is this happening? This didn't need to happen. Like, a sexual thing didn't need to happen there. Like, he could have just been like being annoying or do something gross to Henry that had nothing to do with touching things. You know, there's like a whole thing. Whatever. They also like talk about ways to kill it that involve like tongues being stuck together, and I was like, what in the world? Also because this section of the book decided it wanted to do all the things. We also get mentions of Bev's body and people being uncomfortable because at some point her shirt comes undone somehow in this big fight, like it gets ripped. And like Bev and Bill are now like looking at each other and very like romantic-y teen love. They're like 12, so you know, they like each other. Possibly that like is growing. Ben notices it right away and actually thinks that might be helping them in some capacity because it is giving, like, it is creating like power. But the issue is then also both of them have something to lose because Bev, like, Bill could be threatened and Bev will be worried. Bev can be threatened and Bill will be worried. Like, it'll throw them off. So we get that. Ben does like a super heroic thing at the Neibolt house where he like jumps in front of Bev to protect her from it, who has taken on the body of the teenage werewolf, and like he gets sliced like across his H, which is now like bigger on his gut. That's like his side, but like I was just like, oh my good lord, this child, he's like constantly being injured in a way that he's like super bleeding. Eddie has also broken his arm, which I do remember being in one of the adaptations. The issue is that I more recently watched the It one, like, of the new movies, and I remember him having the cast, but they like have it on him way sooner than that, I think. Oh, we might have mail, so I might have to go because everyone is barking. But no one ever writes Losers Club on it. Like, that doesn't happen, or it didn't in here. Like, they'll just signed it. So like that didn't happen, but he did get his arm broken by the gang of bullies. So like that all happened. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. There was like a whole section where they're all trying to remember stuff. Oh, the photo album, that was really cool. I did write things down. So, oh, I have a couple other things. Okay, so Mike brings his photo album. Yeah, they're gonna bark because it's mail, which I gotta go get. Good lord. I just want to finish this. They're fine. They're just barking at the mailman who's on the porch. They can't, like, there's no interaction with them, so please ignore them for 2 more seconds because the guy's probably leaving. Maybe. I just want to finish this clip. Shh. Shh. He's walking away. There's a lot of sounds that set them off for the mailman because you have to open a gate and then you have to come onto a porch and then you have to open the mailbox and then you have to leave the porch and then you have to close the gate. So there's a lot of sounds all at once, and that's if he doesn't park the truck in front of our house. But I think they've calmed down so I can finish. Mike brings his dad's photo album, all of the Derry stuff, and we see Pennywise throughout history having been in Derry and not aging, always kind of looking like a creepy clown. And then he like smashes his face into the film of the photo album, which was like a very cool visual, and I was very excited about it. So that was really, really fun, and I really enjoyed that. Oh gosh, the barking threw me off. What was the other thing? What was the other thing? Oh, what did I forget? What am I forgetting? Ah, I was gonna try and remember without it. Hold on, hold on. Photo album was cool. Oh, right! So, Eddie, before he breaks his arm, is actually at the pharmacy to pick up medicine. Like, his mom gave him a list, he has a check, he has all this stuff, and the pharmacist, Keen, I think it's Keen, brings him into the back and is like, hey, do you want, it's basically a frap, those things they drink. He's like, do you want one? Like, let me get your chocolate one, I just want to talk to you. Then they're still barking at the mail. This also might be because our neighbor's dog is out. I just want to finish this clip, guys. This is my life. Sometimes I'm trying to film clips. It's my lunch break, so I'm trying to like be quick and hurry so that Krista and I can eat lunch. But the thing, so he like gives Eddie this frap, and I think it's frap. I think that's how you say it. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm really sorry, but I'm pretty sure it's frap because there's no accent. And it also showed up in Nosferatu, or Atu, Nosferatu, the one by Stephen King's son. And I also believe they say frap. But anyway. He like gives him the thing and he's like talking to him. He's like, hey, have you ever heard of a placebo, my boy? And they start talking. Eddie fucking knows he doesn't have asthma, guys. People. Humans. You're not all gentlemen. Actually, there's probably no gentlemen, or very few gentlemen watching this. But yeah, folks, Eddie doesn't have asthma. He knows he doesn't have asthma. He knows it's fake now. And then he even tells his mother he'll keep taking it even though he knows it's fake if she'll leave his friends alone. Because she actually tells his friends to go away when he's in the emergency room. So, my loves, my dears, my queers, my fabulous people. He knows he doesn't have freaking asthma, which means he still knows he doesn't freaking have asthma. So he's just taking a fake inhaler? It's a fake inhaler. It gives him power or whatever. He feels very strongly about it. But still, he doesn't freaking need one. Like, why? You don't need one, Eddie. Why? Eddie. Like, if you know you don't need one, find something else. Find a different thing. Find something else that gives you power. But he's kind of doomed because now he's like a hypochondriac. Possibly worse than he was with his mom. Actually, he's probably as bad as his mom now. Because he's taking a lot of pills. And also still using the aspirator. Which doesn't have asthma! He doesn't have asthma! Ah! Sorry. I like read that section. I was like, you know you don't have asthma. You know you don't have asthma. He doesn't know he has asthma. Like, he does know he doesn't have asthma. Ah! And I like yelled to the sky for a little. Anyway. Yes. So he knows he doesn't have asthma. And that's my big takeaway from this section. creepy discussions of youth anatomy that I don't like. Because they're just young. They're children. I don't want to know. I don't need it focused on. Just move past it. They're the youth. And he doesn't have asthma. And he knows he doesn't. That's the thing that bugs me. He knows he doesn't have it. Anyway, I gotta go because we're gonna eat. We're actually gonna have autumn squash soup and some cranberry bread because I felt very festive. It is too hot for all these things, but soup is easy to make. It's the Panera one. Like, I bought it at the grocery store. So we're gonna do that. But I'm gonna go so we can eat soup. But I need to fill you in. So this means the only things I have left are this interlude. It's part 5, but I can't. The umlaut I should be able to figure out, and I'm probably gonna have to Google it because I think it's chud. Chud? Is it chud? I don't know. I'll have to look. It's the ceremony thingy they have to do. And then there's an epilogue, I believe. Possibly 2 epilogues. But I'm almost done. In comparison to how big this book is, I think I have slightly over 200 pages to go. Page am I on? What page am I on? I am on 843, so I have like 250-ish to go. Which means, I'll just look. So I have interlude 4, part 5, the ritual of Chud? I'll have to look it up. And then the last interlude and the epilogue. So I'm like so close to done. So I'm gonna go and I will talk to y'all when I have updates about this book, this very, very long book. We will probably not watch any of the adaptations tonight, but I think I'm just gonna make this a long video and post it when it gets done, because I can do that. So yeah, I will talk to you later when I have updates. Hello. I just realized if I didn't update you before I got to the end of this book, it would be like way too much to talk about. So I'm on chapter 20, which means I have like less than 150 pages left at this point. And like a lot of things have happened. So the interlude chapter was, again, not a fave. So I really liked the first one. Like, I was really invested in them, but like the other interlude chapters, I just like don't really care, because they're really just describing like a big event that has seemingly kicked off the it moments, like the it years. And like this one involved like basically like a lumber, not a lumber yard, but like kind of lumberjacks. And like the dialogue in it was just like very weird, because there was a discussion of like basically assaulting the earth of Derry in a very like male-centric Mother Earth way, and I was just like, why is this here? And then it was gory, like there was a pretty gory like axe scene, but admittedly I've read worse. And I was like, oh well, this sucks, but like it was just like so random. And then they do ask like, did you see a clown? And the person being interviewed is like, well, I did think there was a fair. So like it as a clown, or it in some capacity, was there, but like they're not feeling super helpful. Like, I appreciate wanting to build this story that like the events happen in Derry every certain number of years, and then there's like a lull period and then they come back. Like, that's very cool, but the explanations for like all of them, like with some of them in detail, with a book this big, they just don't seem that important to me, when you like could have just all mentioned them in the first interlude, or done like a shorter first interlude and then used like diary entry style interludes for the other ones. Let me see where my notes are. So I moved it. Okay, that was the interlude. Oh my gosh, I wrote so many things. So of course I knew this was gonna happen, and I know, like, I'm so sure this will happen since, because I did not remember this occurring. Bev and Bill have sex. Both of them are technically married, though Bev, I'm very sure, would file for divorce if possible. But yeah, no, they have sex. And that sex involves some very weird stuff. So like their actual sex scene, totally fine. Very minimal, not a big deal, whatever. Wasn't really expecting a romance scene, but you know, it's fine. We'd already discussed an erection, and I was like, whatever, it's happening. We then have Bev come to the realization that she had sex with everyone. Just casually, she's like, I had sex with all of you. And I'm like, excuse me, madam? You were 12, if that memory popped into your mind, and I'm uncomfortable already. And then on top of that, We then had a scene with her father from 1958 where he has found out that she's with the boys in the Barrens, which is still gross. Why are we hanging out at the Barrens? Why? Why are we doing it? It's sewage. And he is like, what have you done with them? I need to make sure you're intact. And if you don't know, he's definitely talking about her hymen, and it gets really, really stressful and scary and bad. And Bev is like, well, I see it in him. Like, she is very sure that her father has concerns about her and her having sex and like her becoming a woman, even though like there are some hints to him also having his own thought. I'm not getting into it. It's gross, and I don't think it needs to be in here for the plot of this book. Oh, there's lots of barking. Maybe my mail is finally here. They weren't even barking at the mail earlier. They were, I think, barking at our neighbor's dog. And I'm just like waiting for our mail to come because I know we're getting 2 things, and it's bugging me because one of them, I just want to know what it is, because I was on the phone with the people it's coming from and they were like, oh, we didn't really send you anything. And it had nothing to do with that. I was calling them about making a payment. And I was like, sorry for that side tangent, but I want to know what this letter is, because they were like, no, it's fine. And sometimes we get like weird junk mail from them basically. And I just want to know if I can throw it away. But back to that. Yeah, so like that's happening with Bev, and then she gets attacked by Henry and his goons, who grab her by the hair, and she actually loses some hair at a certain point. Then Ben hides her in their clubhouse together, but then of course they eventually get found again. All of them get found, and now they have all run, in the flashback scenes, they have all run into the drain that Ben was hiding in, and like even deeper down, like they're in the pump system for Derry, which is obviously where it is because it is in all the drains. That's where they are. Henry is following them, plus Belch and the other guy. Is it like Vince or something? I don't know. His 2 associate bullies. They have followed them down, is where I am in that timeline, because we're jumping back and forth between the timelines, and like the writing is interesting, and I do see elements of Carrie in it where he does the like it's not parenthetical. He does like parenthetical text that appears between things, and it's like internal thoughts or something someone is like saying, but it's not that the character you're following, kind of. So that's happening in this. But in this, we're alternating from 58 to 85 by like shared sentences. So like the line of one chapter, or I guess section in chapter 19, each of them ended, like the sentence didn't end until the next section, if that makes sense. So it'd be like, you'd be reading like 4, and you'd get all the way to the end, and it'd be like, go get, and then the next thing would say like 5, and you'd be like, Ben went to, and so, or like Ben was there, and something like that. So like the sentences would end. That was a horrible setup of that, but that's what's going on. And so like that's everything that's happening in 1958. Bill has also figured out that because it's the town, the parents are never going to help them. The parents don't know. The parents are kind of like made unaware of everything. So they have pointed out that the parents kind of like zone out. Like they don't really pay attention to the kids right now. And even when they do, Henry has gotten to a point where he actually tried to attack an adult for wanting to stop him from attacking Bev. So like it's a whole complicated thing. The town is after the Losers Club at this point. In the 1958 storyline. 1985, it is still after them. So, what has happened? It is 85, right? Am I even saying the right year? I told you this was gonna happen because I'm gonna want to say the wrong, it is 85. Okay, I was like, am I saying the wrong year? So in 1985, everyone left, and then Matt was attacked by Henry because Henry has been called by it to come to Derry again. He got attacked, but no one is there, and then he tried to call an ambulance, and it seems like an ambulance is coming, but he was trying to tourniquet his own leg, and the only thing that he had to defend himself was a letter opener from the Methodist Baptist Church? No, Baptist Church? I don't remember the name of the church, but he had the letter opener from his mother's church, and he was able to defend himself enough to get Henry away from him. Now, Pennywise tried to take over the phone, and so when he was trying to call 911 or oh my gosh, does 911 exist? That sounds so wild, but 911 didn't always exist, and I think it exists. I think it exists at that point. They mentioned something else that didn't exist in 1958, and I was like, what? And now I can't remember what that was. But there was something, but I don't remember. It might, maybe. But he tries to call for help and is basically talking over Pennywise, who's doing the very stupid voice I have told you about, and you'll know what I mean. It is a specific voice that is done in a lot of very old Southern movies, like Gone with the Wind. You'll figure it out. But like Pennywise is doing that, the N-word happens a bunch again. And then Henry, because like the chapters are going back and forth, which this is totally why the movie and the miniseries are not done like this, where it's like then and now, because reading it is fine, but if I had to watch a movie that was making me go like up and down, back and forth, I would not pay attention. So yeah, after Henry attacked Matt, he then winds up in this car that his father loved, and we also learn that he did kill his dad. Like, we see the scene of him killing his dad with this special knife that Pennywise left for him in his mailbox. Then Pennywise winds up giving Henry, all of the room numbers, because like all the losers who have come to town who are not Matt are staying at the like dairy townhome. And this car shows up, Belch is the driver, and like Henry's trying to apologize to him because he's like, I'm sorry I left you, and then is like freaking out because he's like, a dead man is driving this car. He winds up with the room numbers. He starts at the top, and that's Eddie's room, and he goes to Eddie's room first, and Eddie like takes him out with a Perrier bottle. Like, he smashes it and he like protects himself. So I think Henry is dead at this point, though maybe not, because like it is also bringing like visages? I'm gonna call them phantoms. Phantoms of dead people past back to terrorize everyone. So I don't know if Henry's gonna just like show back up as like a slightly animated corpse, or like a version of an animated corpse to attack them. So I'm not really sure. But Eddie manages to call Bill's room, which means Bill and Bev are going to come to Eddie's room because they're together in Bill's room. And I know, so chapter 20 is the circle closes, and ooh, they're loud. And we start with Tom, who is Bev's legal husband still, technically. Though, again, he's a horrible man. She realizes she married her father. And so that's fun for her to assume. I need to go though, because that's probably the mail. And I would like to get that mail. But that's it so far. I may or may not update you before the end of this book, just because it's so long. Also, chewed. It's pronounced chewed. Chewed. I looked it up. But yes, so I'm gonna go because the dogs are going absolutely bananas and I would like to get my mail. So that's thoughts so far. Plus some side tangents. Also, I'm drinking Beetlejuice soda because I was hot. It doesn't have any caffeine in it, which is its only downfall. Okay, actually gonna go. I will talk to you later. Hello. I personally, myself, have defeated it. Okay, I didn't defeat it, but I finished it. I finished it before work this morning. So you are getting all of my final thoughts. And I'm very glad that I did the update when I did it, because the whole end of this is wild and slightly confusing to follow, because we do the timeline jumping thing again, which I again completely understand why when you do a movie adaptation you would not be able to do that, because it is really hard to follow in the book. And like he tries to make it so you can like realize it, but sometimes I was a little slow and I'd be like, wait, what is this? Like, just label them. He didn't even label them. Anyway, so let's see, what have you gotten? Oh, okay. So these are the notes I have from chapter 20 to the end, which includes the like final interlude and the epilogue. So in chapter 20 we actually get its own personal monologue, and what's confounding here is while it has typically appeared as men, it does occasionally appear as a woman, but only for Bev, if I remember correctly, though sometimes it's been various people, so I guess that's kind of incorrect. But I feel like the epitome of it that we see is typically a male clown, but what they realize in this is like there's also a turtle. We get into this like, because they keep talking about the turtle, and as it turns out there's a very confounding like macro universe setup where there's like the turtle who created the world, and then it was because it had a stomach ache is what it says later in the book, but then there's also like some other entity, and we learn that it is feeding off of fear because fear actually tastes very good, and dairy is its killing pen. So dairy is its, like dairy belongs to it. And then really what we can kind of see happening is anytime it has fed a lot, then like the town is prosperous. So it's kind of very old gods, not that they know they're giving things to the old god sort of setup, but like a god is getting what it wants and then giving you the benefits of it is really what's happening. Like from what I can tell as the story progresses, we get its internal monologue, and then later at a certain point, because I'm not going chronologically because this end is not chronological, it becomes a spider being in both the past and the present. And while a spider, they like see an egg sac and then determine that it is actually female and trying to like have babies, which is still confounding because we never see it babies. So I'm like, did it ever procreate? Has it procreated? And they're just like weird like things. Like they don't really get into that, but they call it a girl at a certain point. And I was like, whatever. So yeah, a lot of confounding things start to happen. We're in the tunnels with the adults and the children. And I will say positively, Mike survives. Mike almost dies. Like it sends someone to kill him and then he still survives because they all send him their power. Like the surviving losers like give Mike all their power. He survives. He is alive at the end of the book. Again, they do fight it the first time and Bill goes against it. And then when he goes against it, it is weakened. I think it's just him. It got a little confusing because in the present it's Richie and Bill, and Richie is actually the one that kind of like does the big defeating with the tongue thing. And so yeah, they do the tongue thing. I don't know, whatever. They defeat it in the present for them, which is the 80s, and they almost defeated it in the 50s but thought it was dead. That all happens. Just as a heads up, I'm gonna skip a thing and come back to it at the very end. You saw me reading it, that you know what I mean. So in the present, while they're attacking it in the sewers, it's the freaking sewers. It's just the sewers. The Barrens is already sewage. I already told you this. They're actively in a sewer at a certain point. And I was like, this is gross. But also like you were playing in sewage, children. You just were. So while they in 85 are under the town is actually like falling apart. There's a pocket hurricane, a storm has come, people are dying, blood is spraying out of things, toilets are exploding, the universe is basically ending in Derry, and really Derry is just like dying because it is dying and Derry belongs to it. Does that make sense? So all of that is going on, and so by the end of this book, Derry is no more. Like it's just mostly destroyed. Mike's house still exists. And so we get that. They also like flash back to show us the hand cutting thing because it was like a promise to come back. But while all this, so like we found out about the scars. But in the present, Eddie gets his, I think, broken arm bitten off and he dies. They were going to try and get him out of the sewer, but they couldn't really, so he's been left with other bodies. So Eddie and Stan have died. Mike has lived. Bill is alive, Ben is alive, Bev is alive, Richie is alive. But the issue is once they destroy it in 1985, they all start forgetting everyone again. So even like address books are disappearing. So like Mike says, I had everything written down for you all, but it's all starting to fade. So he's just like really starting to forget who people are. And so everyone's sort of forgetting. Bill has Audra and he's staying at Mike's. Ben and Bev have gone to Nebraska, but Bev is going to go back to Chicago and file a missing persons report for her husband. They found his body. And then that way she'll be able to not be married to him. Legally is how that'll work. He's dead. Like technically they're not married anymore. So that's all going on. And then the big like fun positive element to end the book itself is that Bill manages to fix Audra. So his wife had gone completely catatonic because it basically destroyed her brain. He does this thing where he puts her in Silver's like carrier thing, and he like basically uses all of his childlike wonder to ride Silver outside of Derry, and then the two of them are both completely fine. She is perfectly back to normal. They go on to live their lives. He will stay married to Audra. I would like Bev to marry Ben, but I don't think that's going to happen because they're all starting to forget each other again, and she went back to Chicago, so they'll just like never interact again, all of them. So really like that's done. But like what happens to Mike? Is Mike still going to be in Derry? Is Mike going to get a job in a new place? Because Derry is now like investors aren't coming, things are destroyed. Like I just hope Mike gets a better library job or like a historian job. Like I don't know, he should get a good job, make a lot of money, and become a rich man. Everyone else got to be rich. Though poor Eddie. Mira is never going to survive. Ugh. I don't even know that they told... They're not going to remember to tell her. So she's going to have to declare him dead. Ugh, that sucks. I wish Mike had called her. Maybe Mike did. They don't say what Mike did. I'm just going to hope that Mike called Mira. He had Eddie's number. So there is that. So that's the ending of the book itself. Now the part you saw me reading is the part that I do not understand at fucking all. I don't know why it's in there. I don't even really want to talk about it, but you know what it is. Bev decides that, and I don't know why this is in there. They're like 12. Bev decides that for them to escape the dying it and to like get back to Derry, even though this doesn't make any sense. They don't have to do this as adults. So why would they have to do it as children? She decides to take her friends into her. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. She's like, oh, come to me without your clothes on. And I'm like, oh my God, why? Why? What? Fucking why? They had this whole setup where she like, Richie, Eddie, or it's Eddie, then Richie, then Stan. The order doesn't even really matter, except there's like Ben and then Bill. Bill is the end. And I'm like, what is this? Like what? I even forgot someone. Mike. She also did it with Mike. She does it with everybody. I don't even, was Mike mentioned? He had to have been. I was like reading very intently and also getting very grossed out and annoyed because there's no point. There's no reason for it. You would never include this in a movie either because it would be pornography. Like, I'm just like, what? What? What in the fuck? What the fuck? The whole time I was reading it, and then I had to stop. Like, I was like, I have finished this scene and I need a break. I'ma go. I would like to take a nap. Like, I can't do that because I work. But like, I finished reading it and I had to like sit and just not do anything. Because I was like, are you kidding me? Like, why the fuck is this in here? Why? Fucking why? Just, literally, I was like, fuck. The fuck? The fuck? Like the whole time I was reading it. Because it doesn't make any sense. Also, if that's how they got out the last time, wouldn't they have had to do it again as adults? Logically, what was the point of that? Like what? It didn't give her power. Like, they could have just held hands. Or hugged. Or kissed. Like, even a chaste kiss, I think, would have worked. Like, I don't understand what the fucking point was. I know I've said the F word like a million times now, but like, that's the only response I have to that. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck, man? Why? So yeah. I don't understand. I do, as I often think with many Stephen King books, I think this is too long. You could condense this. You could remove things. It would still be fine. There's one thing right off the top I would remove, and that's a very easy fix. You just and then you send it to the publisher. Did no one edit this? Like, there's no grammatical errors. But I'm also like, did no one sit down and be like, Stephen, I just don't know about that section. No one? Was it all like a bunch of dudes who were just like, yeah, it's fine. It's totally fine. She's 12, but it's fine. Like, no one, no single person was like, this seems a bit much, Stephen. I don't understand why my like woman who thinks it's too much is like a school teacher, like a very important businesswoman. I don't know what that voice is, but like I just don't understand how that's still in there. Like I'm just like in all the edits, in all the proofing. Was there no editing? I feel like there's no editing. But yeah, a lot of things you could take out and it would still be good. Like I don't think all the interludes are important. Definitely don't think that scene's important. I think some scenes are too long. I also like don't understand, like as a writing style, it's clever that you're like flipping back and forth to show the like duality of 58 to 85. But as a reader, if you're going to do that, could you at least give me a date? Like put a date on it. Don't just say earlier, later, or throw a name in and hope that I remember, or that I realize that Eddie died in one scene and Eddie's in another scene and I need to be like, wait, Eddie's alive, hold on, this is the past. So just like some of that, I'm like, clever writing, sure. Difficult to follow, also sure. And this is definitely why when you would do an adaptation to film or television, you wouldn't be able to do that. And like, I know you're not writing with that thought in mind, but like, maybe I would think about it. Like, I do think it's still clever. I just wish it were better labeled. Or like there was something to designate officially like past, present for me, something. So yeah, that's a little annoying. I like it in a sense, but also it is difficult to follow, especially once you get into the thousands. Like by the time I was at like page 800, I was like, dude, could we, I'm just, this is a lot of book. So yes. So those are just some of my thoughts. I also do think it's interesting that the it in this is silver and blue. Silver and orange, like a blue, silver, and orange, like that's his costume, but he's white in the other ones, and it has to be that white and red is scarier somehow. It has to be. Like orange and silvery blue is just not. I don't know, that's so interesting that he's like completely different. He's never described in the white outfit, so that's definitely an adaptation choice that they stuck with between the original miniseries and the newer movie, because it's not in the book. He's never in that outfit. So yeah, there are things I would take out for sure. I understand that you're trying to say it's like written historically because it's the 50s, but also the use of the N-word is just like abrasive and happens a lot. Like, because it's also, they also use like different variations of the N-word, and there's a lot of just like unnecessary racist stuff that we don't need. Like the voice that I mentioned that they do that's like from Gone with the Wind. They mention Gone with the Wind, but it's you know the voice I'm talking about. I just don't understand the point of it. Like, I get that there would be people who are racist in 1958 in Derry. There are still racist people in the world. But like, if you're gonna use a word, like, use it once, let it go. Assume the kid would say it. Like, Henry is going to repeat words he heard from his father. Sure. But he doesn't need to keep saying them. Like, people don't need to keep saying them. It doesn't need to happen. Like, I was just like, why? So yes, those are my thoughts on the book. So I do have the movie to watch and the miniseries. I'm debating if that's going to be a separate video still or not, because I don't know when Krista and I are going to get to the miniseries, but I feel like there would be a fun way to end this. So those are all my thoughts on the book. If I decide to, I think I can knock out the movies before the end of this week. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just talking to myself now. I need to figure out how to watch the 2 movie adaptations that are newer. That's probably going to get watched first. I do think we can make time this weekend. So I think we'll get to the mini-series and then I'll just post this next week. I'll skip a week for videos. Again, this would already be up. This doesn't matter. But yeah. So the next thoughts you will get will be on my thoughts related to the newer movies in comparison to the book a little. I won't go as in depth because this video is already pretty long, but I'll give you some thoughts. And then we'll end with the original miniseries that terrified Krista, sorry, I'm coughing, as a child. And that I'm sure a lot of you have seen and have thoughts on. So yeah, we'll end with that. That's my plan. I will talk to you later when I've had a chance to watch the 2 movies. Don't know when that will be, but I will do my best to knock those out pretty quickly. So yes, give me your thoughts on the book so far. Like, if you've read the book, let me know. I can definitely see how Nosferatu, it's Atu, by his son, is inspired by this. Also, they're both behemoth of books, like they're both huge. So I can definitely get the inspiration between the 2 of them. There's also like other worlds and traveling through them and bikes being important. So I can definitely see it. That one feels very specifically like a nod to his father's book. So that was fun for me because I've already read, it was Christmassy and horror and I wanted to read it, so I read it last year. But yes, so my thoughts on the movies will be next. But if you want to give me your thoughts on the book below already, that would be great. But I will talk to you when I watch the movies. So bye for now. Okay, that's gonna work. I wasn't sure. You can see part of Chucky's face. You're just gonna stay there. Fun fact, Gremlins, there's a poster in the back of Bill's room in It Chapter 1. But we are here specifically because I watched It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2. I had seen Chapter 1 before and had not seen Chapter 2. So I will say, before I get into my official thoughts, Chapter 1 is currently free on Tubi, and it seems like it winds up on a different streaming service because I swear it was on Max, and it's been on like other streaming services periodically. But it's on Tubi right now, which was totally fine. And then It Chapter 2 is on basically nothing. It was only listed as being available on 4 things, and any of those options were a pay-for option. So I spent $4 to rent that movie. Again, I had seen It Chapter 1 before. It had been a very long time. I took a ton of notes, and I really don't want to reference them because I don't want to spend a ton of time comparing. I will say, like, there's obviously gonna be some differences. Things will not be identical. We don't really see parents very much except for Eddie's parents. Well, Eddie's mom, not parents, but Eddie's mom, and we see Bev's father, and we very briefly see Bill's dad. And in the book there is more mention of parents, and we actually spend more time with some of the parents. Like, we meet my brain. We meet Ben's mom, like stuff like that. We don't really get that. There is a change in like who is what. So Ben is actually the historian in Chapter 1, which is interesting to me because they then make Mike the historian still in Chapter 2 because that's the only way they get the phone calls. But I don't understand why Mike is not also then the historian in the first one, but whatever. We also have Mike being raised by his grandfather instead. But what the movie Chapter 1 does is it condenses all of those peak moments that I mentioned in the interludes in a way that I appreciated. They just kind of like go through them very quickly because I think the interludes are too long for the most part. But we do all of that. We get some scenes from the book for sure. Again, things are changed. Bev gets a bit more agency in that she basically, actually she does, I think, kill her father. I don't know, she hits him real hard during the attack, and they make things a lot creepier. So the visions it becomes are a lot scarier. It's a lot more gory and graphic because it's a movie. Like, they want to amp it up. Also, it was an early 2000s movie-ish. I guess 2010s maybe? Yeah, I think it came out in 2011. I don't really remember. It's been a while. And I forgot to double check. But it's actually set in 1988, so that is the key difference. It is set in 1988, and then we jump to 1989. And then the part 2 is set 27 years later with no official date listed, but 27 years later. Again, the first one is pretty close. They go to the Nightbolt house. Creepy stuff happens in the Nightbolt house. The death of it, in quotes, because we know it isn't dead in the first, like, in their childhood, is different. There's no slingshot. There's no making silver slugs. They just sort of attack it, and it kind of retreats, and they leave. They don't even, they say, like, if he's not dead and he comes back, they do that, but Bill leads that. Bill also goes off alone a lot, really is very focused on Georgie, which makes sense, but that Georgie fixation is a lot higher, I feel like, in the movie. Also, they really amp up that Bill and Bev have a crush on each other, like, consistently in the first one, and I was like, oh my god, could we not? So that happens a lot. And then, like, everyone is, like, fundamentally the same, I suppose. I feel like Mike still gets done kind of dirty. He doesn't really get as much time with everyone else. We get the rock fight, and I guess by comparison, he's in the story earlier as a kid, because it's not as much, like, time. He really doesn't meet the losers until, like, very far into the book. Sorry, my asthma's acting up a tiny bit. But I don't want to talk too much about it again. So yeah, like the first movie, totally fine. I was fine with it. I was like, okay, there are departures, whatever, the kind of things you would expect. Like admittedly, I'm not expecting a perfect blow by blow recreation, because not even the mini-series for Salem's Lot have done that. And so I just kind of was like, okay. So I did enjoy it. I had fun with the first one. I thought it was a fine time. Could consider watching it again if I really wanted to, but I don't know that I would. The second one though is, oh my good God. That movie is exceptionally long, like way too long. A majority of the scary scenes are either like not in the book at all, or they're like kind of from the book and then completely different. And I was like, it is a very large book, like over 1,000 pages in paperback. And you're telling me that you really needed to create new scenes for these. Like, there are different scenes for the kids where like different stuff is happening to them. But then also they needed different scenes for the adults, I think, because they need the adults to have more to do. And the adults really don't have that many pages in the book, really. And so like they really want to use the adult actors, which is so weird to me, is they like don't use adult Stan to be Stan's head, which doesn't make sense to me. They use child Stan for the head. And like the graphic, like they're just doing very weird things. Like they do the green smoke scene in the second one, but they have it that like Mike experienced it instead of them as kids. We did get the clubhouse in the second one as a flashback, which is totally works for me. I thought they would bring it up. But like they're doing like very odd things. Like they're like, oh, you have to find your totem, and then they have to like burn the totems, and then they like basically find what looks like it's spacecraft. And I'm like, what? Like so many bizarre things were happening. And like in the first one, the end battle involves it kidnapping Bev. So like Bev is taken, she sees the ghost lights, and now she's kind of like seen everyone's death because of the ghost lights. And I'm like, oh good Lord. So like that's a recurring thing, but I'm just like, okay, like fine. We decided the big fight in the first movie had to be because Bev got taken. But then like in the second one, she then has like, I saw the future powers. And I'm like, yeah, what now? Huh? So like once they start remembering things, and they remember things way faster in the movie, which does make sense. Like so many things are invented. Like Bill goes to carnival days or canal days to try and save a kid and then fails, or maybe that kid didn't even exist. Like I was like, what? Also, I didn't even think about this, but the second movie had to kick off with the death from the book. I didn't even think about it, but literally the entire beginning of the movie is the horribly sad death of Adrian for wearing a hat. And apparently Derry has a beaver mascot in this movie. I was like, what is happening? But just like stuff is so weird. Like Mike has this whole ritual they have to do, and it is the ritual of Chud, but I think they even say Chud, but according to the internet it should be Chud. But anyway, they like have to do this ritual, and the ritual is very odd and doesn't involve the tongue thing. And then like they keep harping on endings, and like the first time it was funny, the second time it was like, oh good Lord. So they introduce Bill as a writer, and they're like, your endings suck. Like they keep telling him his endings suck. And then Stephen King appears in the second one as the shop owner that sells Bill his bicycle, and he even says his endings suck. And I'm like, oh my God. Though a lot of people really dislike how it ends, so like the book, because of the thing I mentioned with Bev and the taking them into her and whatever. So yeah, I totally get that. But I mean, that doesn't happen. So there is a kiss at the end of the first one, which is kind of chaste. Like Ben kisses Bev because she's like not responsive, and that like wakes her up. It's very Sleeping Beauty's kiss. It's a very cute like thing. And Stephen King has like a Sleeping Beauty. Is it Sleeping Beauty? I don't remember. Anyway, we're not getting into that because I don't remember. But like, it's cute. It's quaint. Like, it was not gross. I mean, she's technically unconscious, but it's very Sleeping Beauty. Like, it's fine. But like the second one is just so long with so many things that like don't happen, or tweaks to things, or flashbacks to things that we like don't have in the book. Like we have Stan's bar mitzvah, which is fine, but also like, why is this in here? Like, I don't understand. Also, in this, I'm very sure Richie is supposed to be gay because he has a crush on Eddie, which is very random, and just like happens. I was just like, what? Eddie still dies. It's still horrible. Not the arm thing, but he like gets stabbed. And just like, it has very weird iterations throughout the second one. Like, the shapes he takes are odd. They're not shapes that he took in the book, or if they are, they're like variations on that shape in like a creepy way. There's a horrible CGI sequence where Mike is like showing you where it came from, and like, I did not like the CGI at all. I was like, what is this? Like, and like, they had stuff from the book. So like, Paul Bunyan came to life. Like, everyone had to go their own way. But then like, we had a weird scene where Bev was it for Ben, and it was just like, it was just not worth your time. Like, it was just annoying. And I don't like the adults in the book anyway. Like, they're fine. They're better in the book than I remember in the original miniseries, which is mean. I haven't watched that in a long time. But like, I just don't like the adults that much, spend that much time with them. My camera is dying, which is a sign. But yeah, so I'd say watch the first one. Second one's not really worth your time, unless you like really want to. But the miniseries is next. And so that will end this. But I have to go. I am tired. I'm gonna go to bed. My camera is dying. I need to charge it. So I will talk to you later with the It miniseries. Hello. You're going to hear ambient street noise because I'm outside. So it is Thursday. I know this is not an update on the It miniseries, but Krista had to go into work. And because I had already taken today off, I am just downtown with her. So I'm at the library. We have cool lions. We had fountains, but they're not working. There's actually, I read a whole article on these fountains for our library. It's called the Flower Pea Memorial Library. I've also had a lot of dairy, sorry. But the fountains have an electrical short, so the water is going into the electric, so they can't run them. So they're just like sitting here, empty, with blue paint in them. And one is covered still. Sorry, I'm gonna cough one more time. So I went and got us donuts at this place called Morning Ritual. They're in someone else's spot, like they're partnered with someone. So I got donuts there. I've had a donut, but Krista, because she has court today, didn't have a donut. I also got her coffee, which she has not been able to drink yet. And I've already had an ube latte, and now I'm having an apple butter latte, which I think I have to finish before I can go inside the library, because I don't know that you can bring food or beverage in there. But yes, so I'm sitting outside our library on a stone bench for the next 10 minutes, I think. But there was like a random thing that I thought of from the movies I was watching that I forgot to tell you. So in the chapter 2 movie that is just too long and very annoying, we do get canon Bev and Ben, and what's very weird is no one's forgetting anything this time, which whatever, but Ben and Bev are like living on a boat with a dog. So either her husband secretly did die and we didn't see that, or she filed for divorce, I don't know. But they didn't have their partners come, so like Audra and Tom didn't show up. Henry was killed by Eddie very quickly. Eddie also got stabbed in the face instead of having his arm broken. But we got a very cute Bev and Ben moment with the dog. There was like, it was just interesting because it seemed like Bev and Ben were in like a horror with romance. Bill was in a grief horror, and then Eddie and Richie are in like a comedy, like a horror comedy. And then Mike is in a hodgepodge of all of these movies in which he has actually done something to mess something up. Like, it was just so odd. Like, the tone of the movie is just so weird. I'm done talking about the movies now. That was just like the weird thing that I forgot. But yeah, so I'm just hanging out. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer, and then hopefully the library opens at 10, like I think it does, and then I'll go in. I have books to pick up. But I just thought I would hang out here. I don't know how good the audio is. This is the audio you're getting. And then maybe we're watching It the miniseries tonight. I don't know. We shall see. Because a Barnes & Noble just opened in Syracuse in the mall, which is literally the closest a bookstore is to us. There are no bookstores in my entire town. The closest bookstore before this, even like a chain, like any bookstore, was in Canada. So it would be nice to go, but I don't know if we're gonna go today or a different day. I would like to get the miniseries watched and done. So yeah, we'll see. But your next clip will be about the miniseries, I promise. But I just thought I would give you thoughts that I forgot about while I sit here on this stone bench and wait for my library to open. So yes, I will talk to you at some point, but please enjoy this very cool lion. Maybe There you go. They're very fun. There's 2 of them. But I will talk to you later.
Go ahead, some thoughts.
Hello! Yes, Chloe has thoughts. So, we did not watch... We have watched all of It, the miniseries, which was shorter than I thought. For some reason, I thought it was longer than 3 hours. Krista watched the entire thing.
Out of love.
Yes. I did tell her she didn't have to watch it, but she said she would do it. So, we watched the entire thing. The girls joined us for the last, like, hour, 45 minutes. But we finished it. I will say, as an adaptation, it's probably as close to the book as the newer versions. Like, a lot of things are changed, a lot of things are tweaked. They make Eddie probably gay. He lives with his mom. It's a very, like, stereotypical, he's probably a gay character setup. He knows his asthma is fake, though, in this, and still using the inhaler. What else? Everyone else was about the same. I thought the casting was pretty good. It's very odd to me that Seth Green was in this as young Tozer. So that was a little goofy for me. But yeah, it was a solid adaptation. Again, things are changed like they are in the newer version. They changed things in this one. There's a lot less violence for the children. Like, Ben doesn't get Henry's initials carved, or like the first letter of Henry's name carved on him. There's just like a lot less violence in their lives. Like, when they get beat up, there's less blood, but there is blood in scenes that like adults can't see, or when they are adults other people can't see. So I thought it was solid. Thought it was a fun time. I probably prefer it to the newer version because the chapter 2 of the newer version is way too long and really, really fucking annoying. And this one, I was less annoyed by the adult versions of the characters, and the guy playing Bill solidly did the lisp. Nothing against James McAvoy, but like, I'm sure it's difficult to do a lisp if you're a British actor doing an American accent. Like, that seems like a lot to ask a man.
Not really a lisp, it's a stutter.
Stutter, sorry. I was thinking about the fact that they corrected him because he was like, you sound like Elmer Fudd, and he's like, Elmer Fudd has a lisp. Porky Pig has a stutter. So yeah. But like, James McAvoy can't really do the stutter. He tries, they have it a couple times, but the guy in the 1990 version, he actually does the stutter pretty well. So, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I would probably recommend it over the other one. Also, I am an idiot and forgot what Pennywise's costume was in this one. He has the orange pom-poms from the book, but he's not entirely in blue. His like sleeves are kind of like blue, not blue silver, but they're blue. And then the rest of him is yellow. Do not ask me why I had forgotten what he's wearing. I blame the fact that our Spirit Halloween like only had stuff from the newer movie out, so I just keep seeing the Skarsgård so I couldn't remember. Oh yes, Chloe. What do you think?
Chloe's thoughts are she could have done without the spider.
Yeah, the spider at the end is actually accurate to the book, so I appreciate that, as opposed to the weird clown. I knew that was gonna happen. My allergies are acting up, and I briefly could not breathe. But the spider in chapter 2 is like a clown spider hybrid, and then this, it's just a spider, which makes way more sense. But yeah, what did you think? As you have seen this once before. She remembered a lot of it. Like, I was asking her questions, she was like, oh yeah, no, that happens. This happens. That happens.
That's what happens when you get emotionally scarred by something when you're 10. This is true.
But yeah. So, Krista remembered a lot of it.
After having only seen it once before.
I will say it is in it less than in the newer adaptation, and I think it's because, like, they're not doing a ton of CGI. Like, it's just Tim Curry and practical effects, so it's probably cheaper to not have a lot of Tim Curry. He does the voice, but I didn't realize he's not in it that much. In the newer ones, they show it, like, constantly. Like, he's in it a decent amount for 3 hours, but, like, I feel like there's even more of actual Pennywise the Clown in the new ones, as opposed to this one.
Oh, Chloe had another thought.
Oh, yes.
She thought there should have been more food eating during the movie.
Ah, there's the big Chinese food scene. They did that super accurately to the book.
We did not eat any foods during this movie.
Oh. Well, I mean, your mom and I had lunch.
She's like, I wasn't part of it.
You had your own dinner at, like, 4.
Still.
Okay. We'll probably eat some more food a little later. We have We had Chipotle,
I ate my burger.
and then, but you didn't finish your Chipotle, and I finished mine. And then we got Five Guys, and then we still have, I have a burger still, and we have a bunch of fries, and Krista has some more Chipotle, because we were going for comfort food, and we both had a little bit of wine for the rest of the movie. But yeah, so we did it. All the things related to It the Clown, well, It, who is Pennywise the Clown, have been consumed. I would say the miniseries is a better decision than watching
There you go.
parts 1, or chapter 1 and chapter 2, though chapter 1 was a solid horror movie on itself, in and of itself. Chapter 2 is too long. Chapter 2 is just a waste of time.
I'm not really there. Thank you very much.
Chloe can see the viewfinder. But yeah, so I think that's it. I think. Do you have any other It related comments?
I am a wonderful wife.
She is a wonderful wife. She did not have to watch this, and she did. We also rented it, so we had to pay like $4, I think. But yeah, so that is the end of the video. You'll get to see Chloe and Krista and me. You can also find me on Instagram at ClefGoEverAfter. And I hope you enjoyed this very long video about Stephen King's It. Let me know all your thoughts about the book, the movies, the miniseries in the comments.
The Chloe.
Yes, and the Chloe. Also, there's a Rottweiler in this movie. Pennywise briefly turns into a Rottweiler. Not long enough for me to tell you anything about said Rottweiler, just that he does.
Because there was a fear of the cards.
Yeah.
How could this be a fear? It's so beautiful.
She's very cute. Alright. I gave you all the things. Oh, like and subscribe if you want to see more things. I got out a lot of library books today, so there will be a library book themed vlog coming up. So I will talk to you at some point later. Bye, internet people.